our cities, and we are happy and great to you. But first of all, let me thank Christian Iaione and all his team. I ask you to give them a big applause, because I think these 2 days I think this place is a beautiful place, so also thanks to Fondazione Marino Golinelli. This is a special building for us, dedicated to the innovation, dedicated to the future of our city. I would like to start my presentation with a website. I asked Benedetta to put on the screen the website that we use to promote our logo. This is the logo of Bologna, this blank screen. It is a digital hub, the result of an international contest that we did 2 years ago to select a new brand identity of the city. And this is the result. A digital hub with a motto, is Bologna, e Bologna is in Italian, obviously. And you can write before what is for you the symbol of the city. I don't know if you are familiar with Bologna. If it's your first time, I ask you which is for you the brand of our city, the symbol. You want to be the first to say something. Towers? You can write, we can try. The 2 towers. Okay, if you write towers or 2 towers, this is the result. But we can change. I think that for some of you, the Nettuno, could be the symbol of the city. Or Tortellino. Maybe yesterday evening, some of you eat some Bolognese food, not spaghetti Bolognese because they don't exist. But tortellini is real. So this could be a good example. But we can also write a name. Benedetta is helping us, so we can give an applause to Benedetta. I ask Benedetta to write her name. We can use Michele. So we can change the identity of the city with some monuments, with some projects, but also with the people. The people arrive in the city. Every 10 years we change the 25% of our population. So the demographic dynamic in Bologna is huge, is important. We attract so many people from many parts of the world, as many cities. But the main part of our migrant wave is from Italy. So the Italian migrants are the most part of the city. We have 14% outside Europe, but more from the rest part of Italy. They arrive in Bologna for job, they arrive in Bologna for university, they arrive in Bologna for love, they arrive in Bologna for civil rights, they arrive in Bologna for many reasons, and they decide to arrive here to create projects and to create their life. So Bologna is a promise, like many cities. Is a place where you can create your citizenship, where you want to be engaged and use the opportunities that the city gives to you. I think this is a good way to express what Bologna is, a city that changed with their citizenship. And this digital app is a symbol, but is also a tool and a language, because every letter corresponds to a sign of our city and a language to describe, and is also a storytelling project about the city. Benedetta, we can now put out my PowerPoint. Or Michela, you changed it. Because I think this matter with urban commons. Why? We decided to work some years ago about this issue of urban commons. These are different logos. because we have an important history about that. We have an important social capital. Putnam described many years ago the social capital of Emilia-Romagna region, and how the people in our local area was able to developing job, economic prosperity, but also welfare and well-being with the social relationship and the community. In the history of Bologna is also important the cooperative movement, and yesterday you have seen what important present is. We have a lot of NGOs and so on. So the social capital of the city is our DNA, and it was important to start from that, thinking the future of the city. Especially when, 4 years ago, we tackled the issue of smart city. I decided last year to ask my mayor to cancel my duty of smart city from my business card or municipality card, as you want, because I decided to shift from smart city to collaborative city. Why? Because for many years we were invited to many international conferences, many important meetings with private companies, with European commissions, but we were not able to use this time to resolve the needs of our people and our communities. We were using the time to respond to some international call or financing bid only to develop a market, only to develop technologies that probably we don't need many times. We were investing on technology. We were investing on infrastructures, and later I will say something about that. But we want more. We want to engage the people and put the community and the people first. And we think that the collaboration is the good word to describe how a city could spread value from the social capital. Some examples about that. Because some years ago we decided to prototype some ideas and to work on this field, not with with a strategic vision, but not with big projects, with some prototype ideas. We start in the first days of our administration with the T-Days project. We decided to create, during the weekend, a big pedestrian area in Ugo Bassi Rizzoli Indipendenza, just close to the two lining towers. A simple project, like in many cities, a Gran Via for bicycles, families, and people. A mobility project, a healthcare project, but also a touristic project and a digital project. Why? Because some months ago, the first T-Days weekend, we discovered that Google was full of Bologna new pictures, with many people, so not only with monuments, colored, with a lot of ideas spread in the cities from the citizens and from the tourists, especially international tourists. And looking these pictures, we discovered that Bologna was famous for the foreigners, for the international visitors, for gelato, not for tortellini. So they were describing a city, a new city, with new values, new identities, and they were promoting my city. I'm also deputy mayor for tourism, and I was not investing any money. It was also for free. A promotions from a common good, from a road, from a pedestrian area that we were protecting and giving to the community. I was saying before about infrastructure and digital. We decided 3 years ago to approve a digital agenda about infrastructures, digital inclusions, and also to create a new civic network. 20 years ago, we created the first civic network in Italy, Hyperbole, was the name. The second in Europe later, after Amsterdam. But 20 years ago was innovative, giving the people a free email. Now it's not innovative. Was innovative, open the web to the community. Now everybody could be in internet, and is not new. So we were looking for a new project to engage people on the digital side and use a platform to promote citizenship, but also digital rights. And we decided to open data from the public administration. We decided to invest on the creation of an open source platform to give some tools to the community. And later I will show you something. So data has a common goods, and the civic network has a common goods to the people. Another example of engagement and collaboration has been the first civic crowdfunding in Italy that we launched 2 years ago. For 1 year, a local crowdfunding platform from a startup as an experiment, a prototype about crowdfunding dedicated to Portico di San Luca. We are trying to be recognized as a UNESCO goods for porticos. We have 42 kilometers in our city of porticos, but we have especially 6 kilometers on the hills to San Luca. We need money to restore this portico, and we decide to ask to the people and private companies money for 1 year as a civic project. And after 1 year, we arrived to 7,000 people, more than 7,000 people, donors, and more than 300,000 euros collected by crowdfunding. I think it's an important experience, yes, for money, an important experience for these 7,000 people, but also an important experience about what is collaboration and what we can do with internet and with the public administration, with the people of the city. Another example are the urban gardens. They are so trendy in this moment, in this area, not only for the expo, but because all the world is debating about agricultural foods inside urban areas. During the 70s, Bologna decided to create the first urban gardens. Now we have 3,000 urban gardens. Community gardens are so important for us for many reasons, and probably many of you in your cities know that they are important. Now we are trying to use these spaces to generate jobs, to generate social relations, and to generate projects with the school. So we think that this place in the cities are common goods open to all the citizens. Urban regeneration is another topic that we tackle so hard, and we decide to regenerate some neighborhood. For example, this is an example of a neighborhood that we decided to regenerate. But we asked to the private companies to open their projects to the community, to the schools. This, I think, a clear example of what is the collaboration between private sector and the public administration to engage people and to give to people possibilities and tools to create something. Later arrived Christian and the team of Christian and the Luis, and we decide from all these experiences to create some guidelines, to create some rules, to create a path to scale our vision, and to have also some norms to permit us to work better with the citizens. And in 2014, in the City Council, we approved the Manifesto of Common Goods. Later, until now, we arrived to approve more than 160 pacts, collaboration pacts. This is an example of a kindergarten regenerated by the parents of kids. This is an example of a space regenerated by the ultras, the supporter of Bologna football team, Last month they opened a kindergarten inside this place. This is an example, a pact that I personally did 2 years ago, or 1 year ago. A pact with 2 streets, Via Belvedere and San Gervasio, 2 streets in the city center, with the shops, the market, the market between these 2 streets. 100 people engaged in this pact. They managed these 2 roads, they managed the garbage, they decided to limit the hours of the night because there was a problem of conflict between residents and the bars. And all these pacts arrived in May 2015 in the first collaboration event with the mayor in another place like that, just 1 kilometer from there. Must, another private company, another museum and space like that. We are here on the stage with all the people engaged in this movement of common goods in the city. But we decide to go further, not only thinking urban goods also has something we have to defend, but also something we have to regenerate. Because regenerating common goods, we can have more value for the community and also for the economy. So I decided to launch a program dedicated to creative industries using urban spaces to give to startups and creative projects tools and opportunity to promote projects, but also to create a community of creativity in the city. This is a place, maybe tonight some of you will be invited to have an aperitivo in Le Serre dei Giardini Margherita. Is our Hyde Park or Central Park, you know. It's obviously smaller than this example, but is our best park just close to the city center. Giardini Margherita and Le Serre dei Giardini is a co-working space, an incubator dedicated to social innovation. During the summer, in the last 2 years, we organized many events, 50,000 people every summer. We have space for startups, we have a co-baby, but this is a place also that leads a community. This place is at the headquarters of all our regenerated space. Here we meet the community, we invent new projects, and we try to push forward a movement of people engaged and committed to the urban regeneration. This is another place, not dedicated to the social innovation, but dedicated especially to the new mobility. It's a station, a bike station, just close to the high-speed train of Bologna. Now we have here, we can host here 300 bikes. Next year we hope to arrive to 1,000. In the year 2000, the municipality restored with public and European funds this place, because Bologna in 2000 was the capital of culture in Europe. Later, this became car parking, not for culture, obviously. We decided to close this place and reopen, dedicating this place to the bikers community. So here you can put your bike, you can rent a bike, you can repair the bike, but here you can also meet people interested on this theme, you can organize events, you can do some education program, and so on. This is another place dedicated to music, Mercato Suonato. This was an old market, empty. After 15 years of bad situation in a neighborhood just outside the city center, we decided to give this place to an orchestra of young under 35 years, 200 people. They now manage this place, they use this place to play and create their job. So it's not a theater, it's not an institution, it's a place regenerated by people giving this place also to the community. These three were projects generated by a public policy. But we have also a situation in the city and some projects created directly by people. These are two examples: Cucine Popolari, popular kitchen, I can translate in English, and social street movement. They are independent. They decide to organize themselves, but they are in an environment, in a culture. They are inside the city where common goods are important, and they decide to copy something, to put people together, and to give services to the people. For example, in the first situation, to poor people. They decide to use a popular house opening during the day to the people of the neighborhood, giving food. And we decided to give them an award, Nettuno d'Oro, a gold Neptune, to say that they are important because they are collaborating and they are in the mood of the city of collaboration. These are all the projects that we are now mapping in our civic network in Ipevere. Now, if you go to comune.bologna.it, you can see all these projects. They are in a social network. This is the map, but you can see also their blogs and their dialogues and the tools that they are using to sharing experience and projects. We also decided to candidate ourselves to the Mayor's Challenge 2 years ago with a collaborative project dedicated to schools and private companies to promote technical culture. We didn't win, but for example, Atene won 5 million euros with a project very similar to a digital platform that I showed you before, to engage people, to mapping civil society and promote projects from the bottom level. So there is a culture, I think, in Europe now, especially in the Mediterranean area. Barcelona, and I think Miguel is a good example of how an important city is working on this theme. I was saying in the Mediterranean and Europe, there are many cities that are using this idea of common goods, and we are together breaking some paradigms, especially I think the smart city paradigm and all the old traditional approach in cities. Now and I'm just concluding, we are doing 6 meetings in the city, in different neighborhoods, to design the future of the city. We want to use the collaboration and not the participation to decide where to put the European funds to the year 2020. Why not participation but collaboration? Because we are trying to design the future with all the part of the community that is doing something. We want to put together the people, the best practices, the concrete projects, and we ask them to collaborate. And we want to put €1 on what is collaboration. We want to invest on a space useful for the collaboration, a service useful for collaboration, or something that is useful for all the community together, and not singular and specific project and egoistic project. At the end of my speech, I can say that all have you seen, I think, is a method. It's a vision, obviously, but it's also a method. I think doing politics, urban politics like that, is like doing social research, asking people what they need. And I think if we invest on this idea of collaboration, we have many people with us when we ask what is the symbol of the city. And I think the answer every time is our name. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matteo. Michele, tell us about Barcelona, how Barcelona looks at Bologna, and what is happening on the ground in Barcelona, and we can learn from your city and what we can do together, maybe.
Okay, thanks very much. I will try not to be too long because it has been really a long day now, and we all want to do other things than being in a. Even if we are in a very nice community, we also want to do some other things around from our life. So I will try to be concise. First, I want to thank the organization and the city of Bologna for having the chance to share with you knowledge and experiences. And I can say right now that I have had many inspiring ideas from this meeting. And I do think this is something that is shared, hopefully, with all of you. So thanks for the organization of the meeting. That's my first point. The second point is that I want to explain a little bit why Barcelona has decided to become a reference in the commons, in the urban commons. And finally, I will ask you some help and some support, of course. First is that Barcelona does have a long tradition of social initiatives from grassroots movements of all sorts of types of relations. So it is not really new, the idea of moving further than public and private spaces. But what is really new is the feeling that we have had in the last years that the public administration, first, it has not achieved to cover the needs of the people. This is the first point. Secondly, it has to stop the empowerment of the civil society in Barcelona. And it has not been able to allow the growth of the social initiatives that can be developed in Barcelona, at least at the extent that we think that it can be done. So our analysis in Barcelona is that we have already the social capability to move forward. We don't have to create. We have to support, and if I have to say in a sentence what it has been very clear to me from the talk that I've heard these 2 days, is that the role of the public administration regarding the urban commons is to create the conditions to allow flourish the social initiatives. And this is one thing that I took home, and I do think this is the role the Barcelona public administration do have to play. So, in this context, in the last 2 years, we have had elections in the Spanish level and at the local level. And it has happened something which is quite surprising, which basically means that in the main cities of Spain right now, or most of the main cities of Spain, people that have never been part of the political system, of the public administration, has decided to jump into politics. That's quite strange. That's quite strange, mainly when you have a context of total untrust on politics at the same time. It means basically, at least from our reading, that it is not enough to change the outcome of the public administration politics, but it is needed to change the public administration and the politics itself. And this is how it is our approach. If we analyze, and I'm really happy to have heard the Pierre Sauverté analysis, I don't know if Pierre is here, so maybe not, but he has done a very good analysis of what has happened in Barcelona to understand why in a year some people from social movements are able to win an elections in Barcelona. That's very strange. It's 1.2 million people. There's the tradition of tens of the other political parties. And suddenly something crashes and is able to produce a new output, which is a social political initiative. How can this be done? On the usual way, it's impossible. In fact, Barcelona en Comú, which is the party that has won the elections, I do think it does have many of the characteristics that you have mentioned in terms of common. It is not enough to do have a good program, but it is needed to have a different way of doing it. And I do think that's a clear case where we have used many of the creative possibilities of the common. in order to create a communal politics that can fail. I will say that it will fail. We are going to make many mistakes, that's very clear. But I think it's important to learn from them, because it's an experiment. As you said, we need not the strategy, we need some projects. Okay, Barcelona en Comú, it's a project. It's a project that now it's running Barcelona City. And in this sense, for us, Barcelona en Comú, which means Barcelona in common, the urban commons is a key element. This means, of course, that we are going to support specific projects, and we already have many of them on the table. We have Coopolis, for example, which is a cooperative initiative environment to develop new cooperatives that it's self-run by themselves. We have Fab Labs, we have many other experiences. I'm not going to go one by one, but the idea is that we are going to push for some emblematic projects. We are going to push for some scaling down of decision making and changing the way of producing the politics at this level, or more community level, which is a basic issue in the development of urban commons, and this is how we understand it. And we are going to try to increase the visibility of already existing common urban projects, because the visibility is a key element. It is a very key element in a context of a society that changes very quick. The credibility is a key element there. It is not only, it cannot be done, any change today in a city, just by planning. You have to allow the other places. And in order to do so, we have to say, hey, you are valuable for the city, you are a key element for the city, you are a key element in terms of social innovation. So, we have to change the scale. Not to increase it, but to change it. We have a long history in Barcelona of reactive public administration supporting common projects. And we also have some experiences of proactive activities supporting common projects. The change is to become a strategy of the city, to become the commons, the development of urban commons and a strategy element of the city. And how we are going to do it, I don't know. No idea. No idea, and so this is where it comes a part which is easy for me and difficult for you. I need your help. Okay? And I need your help in some different elements. So here comes the homework for scholars. First, how we develop the transition of a city that is going to do many recurrences. We do not start from scratch, we do start from a very far point for what we have said today, 2030 vision. This is not our city. And we cannot change it at the same time. So we are going to proceed to do a change in between on an absolutely nightmare of occurrences. How do we manage that? First question for scholarship. Help us on this point. Secondly, all sorts of changes on public administration to proceed to support the commons. Very difficult issue. How are we going to support it? Certainly. Third, we have so many paradigms in the city today. We have smart cities, shared economy, common. How do we live to create alliances in terms of the commons? Of course, in a community as the commons one, which is a new one. First, thematic conference of the urban commons. Great. Yeah, but afterwards, how do we work to create alliances on this issue? That will be a challenge, and it will be a need for us. So, we have all these problems and many other ones. For example, how the common role is related with the current existing small and medium enterprises. How we are going to work with this? No idea. We need this to work together. And we also need to work together with other cities, of course. And here is where I thank very much, especially the Bologna experience, the Bologna input to the common discussion. And I hope that we will continue working together in a broader level with other cities to be able to push for a European network of common cities. So thanks very much for giving the opportunity. Thanks very much for giving the attention, especially thanks very much for your help in the future. We all have to construct it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and I'm so happy to turn some, all questions that you just posed to my partner in crime, as we call ourselves now, and who I am deeply grateful to, Sheila Foster, who has inspired us, has contributed to the Co-Bologna project, and has also taken time from her family to spend a lot of time now in the last year and a half almost in Bologna and in Italy. So Sheila,
thank you.
The floor is
Partner
yours.
in crime, thank you. So, and thank you, Matteo, and thank you, Miguel. I wanted to take just 5 minutes to reflect on, first of all, the past couple of days and the theme of the conference, in particular as it related to what Matteo and Miguel just said, because I think it maps on quite nicely to the idea that we had when we brought all of us together to think about the city as a commons. So we've heard a lot about urban commons because the city is a kind of common or commons, but the city also has other potential commons within it. And a lot of you have spoken, I think, quite powerfully and wonderfully about various types of commons in the city, from cooperatives to gardens to labs to even digital commons. But what do we mean by the city as a commons? The city itself, both as a place but also as a political being. And I want to suggest 4 elements of that map very nicely onto the 2 comments that we just heard. So I was struck when Matteo said that, we are a city of migration, an open city where people come from not just all over Italy, but all over the world. And the first thing I would suggest in thinking about what it means that the city is a commons is that the city is an open resource. It is a place where people come. If you think about not the tradition that Tina talks about as much, but the Garrett Hardin version of the commons, the open field, the analog is when people come to cities and purchase a house or open a business is the equivalent of, bringing a grazing cow onto the open field. So the city itself is a commons, is an open resource in that sense. And it's also one that we all share, whether it's in the public square, whether it's in the services that we share, or whether in our interaction space. So that's the first thing, is that as an open shared resource. The second thing that I was struck by both Matteo and Miguel's comments and a lot of what we've heard over the past couple days is that the city as a commons means a collaborative and cooperative. That collaboration and cooperation marks the city on a deep level. It's DNA, I think Matteo said. And this is both recognizing the social capital in cities, activating that social capital so that citizens become engaged, especially in regard to shared spaces and resources, not just at the sublocal but the city level, but also, so scholars write about, bonding social capital and bridging, but also that we collaborate with other cities and I loved what Silke said this morning about kind of the idea is not to scale up but to distribute, right? So this idea of networks. And Miguel, you talked about that too, right? The importance of working with other types of models, right? The commons economy and other things that we're doing. So collaborative and cooperative. 3, and it's important, and I think we haven't talked a lot about, that a commons is productive, or as one of you said, it generates and regenerates. It's generative. It produces goods, right? What does it produce and for whom? So we use the city, we use things in the city, whether they're lots or houses, to produce goods for human flourishing and human needs. And I think the one thing that we haven't really dealt with in the commons movement is we need a thicker version of what this looks like, right? That is to say, for whom are we producing goods, right? Cities have always produced goods, and right now the wealthy are buying them up. But the question is, how are we producing and for whom? And I think importantly, how are these goods different from classic public goods that we expect cities to provide? I think that one thing we have to do in this movement for the urban commons is we have to make sure not to shift the responsibility for providing classic public goods to the public, right? In other words, not to mistake a commons for devolution, right, of responsibility for the state to provide certain groups. And then finally, so 3 is productive, that the commons is productive, and that's what it means, that the city is a productive and a generative space to produce goods for human needs and human flourishing. And then lastly, and this goes really to the role of the city as a political actor, is that the city is an enabler of the commons, of collaboration. It's what we call a partner state, right? Until the state goes away, which I don't think is going to happen, we need, right, the partner state to create the conditions, and Ezio talked about this yesterday, to create the conditions for commoning, right, to help to create the commons. Does enabling mean that we simply, right, devolve to the sublocal level? Again, I don't think we mean that. What we mean is not devolution, but a polycentric model, a model with no center, with no dominating partner. And this is, I think, what the Bologna regulation represents. In closing, it is one example. It's not a perfect example, and it's not one that we can cut and paste to other cities, but I think that it's a great example of a polycentric model for the urban commons, where the city is in a position to do all the things that you both just talked about. So that didn't answer your questions, but I would say that on reflection from everything that we've heard and the way that we think about this, that I've learned a lot about the city as a commons, and I offer those as 4 guidelines. So thank you, and thank you, everyone.
So before leaving the floor to Tina DeMore for her concluding remarks, I would like to just give you 3 information. The first one is is about you. So basically, we put up your a sort of map of, we call it urban commoners map. It's many people have been asking me, who was the one that raised the hand and made the question coming from, I don't know, Thailand or Mexico or whatever. So this is it's not a perfect tool, but it's a tool that if you remember at least the where they come from, then you can go look up. There is the name, and what we would like to ask you is if you send us your bio, so that we create sort of Facebook of the urban commoners, and that we can start building a community of researchers that are working on this. The second thing is about Co-Bologna, the Co-Bologna project. Yesterday, Ezio Manzini spoke about the necessity of a space for experimentation, and we think that Co-Bologna should be a gateway for whoever wants, researcher or practitioner, to come to Bologna and use the city as a research field to experiment their research and activities and their projects. And the last one is about all those how can I say, the human. No, it's more. This is the Collaborare Bologna map about the pacts of collaboration. This is the people we are working with. The Department of Affari Istituzionali and the city in its entirety is working with all the citizens, associations, businesses. And I want to thank Annarita Iannucci, who is here tonight representing, the department that is running this project and is dealing and is helping, is enabling these commoners. So, and last is LabGo staff, human beings, exceptional human beings that I've shared, with this experience. In the last 2 years, in the last 3-4 years, we experienced, defeats and wins, but it has been made possible only by this collective work, this collaborative work. So, without any further delay, Tine, I leave you the floor for the concluding remarks of the City as a Commons conference. You can earn the podium.
I'm going to stand over here for good reasons, and you'll notice right away why. Let me just first very briefly wrap this up in terms of content. I think this was an extremely rich conference for many different reasons. I think it's one of the first ISC conferences, maybe the first ISC conference, where there was such maybe an overwhelming participation of practitioners, and that's really what within the ISC we're always looking for, to strike a better balance between scientists and practitioners. And as well, for those of you who go really frequently to scientific conferences, usually you don't need any practitioners at all. So we want to be special in that, and we want to do a good job. And I think you've all contributed enormously to helping us in striking that balance, and I sincerely hope you will continue to do so in the future. Now, the richness of this meeting, I think, also urges me to pose a few new challenges to you. I've posed a few yesterday, and I'm going to elaborate on that and add some more, I'm afraid. So I'm also going to send you home with some homework. First of all, I think what made this conference, amongst others, so rich, not just the participation of the practitioners, but also the multitude of case studies they presented. And some people actually studied the same case study, which was funny to listen to, because sometimes, they come with different perspectives, and that makes it even richer. And I hope that in the future there will be more case studies to be studied, but maybe there might also be some overlap from different perspectives on the same case studies. And I would like to challenge you to take all that information, because what you brought together here is data, basically. And data is what most scientists are hungry for. They want to know how it works, and then, come up with the most common denominator to some extent, or most common denominators, and to think of what kind of structure do we find in there? How does a variety in the end add up to similarity? And I would like to challenge you to also dig into the material that is already there on other types of commons, often in developing countries, where there's often still a rich history of commons, and also natural resources. And think about, on an abstract level, about similarities between those cases and your own cases, and elaborate further on that. I think that would really help us in the future. Now, one of the things that also struck me in this conference, and I find it really fascinating, is that how many of you are working on non-occupied spaces in the cities, whether these are, a bit outside of the city, most often are former airports, or just wastes within a city, non-occupied buildings. That's really striking, and it really fascinates me, because it's not something people would associate easily with a city. But it creates opportunities, I think, and it creates also questions, because there's reasons why it's not occupied. And it creates also a potential room, both physical and moral, maybe you could say, to create that necessary liaison between the citizens and the cities and city governments. And we've seen some wonderful examples here, and we've heard some enthusiast people who represent the cities, but I don't think we can expect that to be the case everywhere. So we have to be aware of that. I myself work in the Netherlands, and I find a very diverse spectrum, so to speak, of local civil servants who are very willing to think along, and others who are not ready for it, or are just not able or not willing at all. So we have to consider that spectrum and see how, amongst others, those open spaces in the city, those non-occupied spaces, can be maybe a sort of trait d'union, a sort of link between what could be in a city and what should be done. How can these be sort of the exemplary places in a city? Now, I think there's not just need for maybe more liaison with the scientific frameworks that are out there already on commons, but also we should, I think more about a strategy behind cooperation with local and national governments. I think what you see here are very good examples of local governments engaging themselves, but I think it's a completely different story when you go a few levels above that. Here you're talking, I think, about policy making, to some extent also about politics and political choices, but when you go a few levels above that, you really are talking about major political choices. And I personally think we're not there yet. We need more examples, we need more best practices, but we need, as just mentioned also, we need also maybe some failures, I hope not too many, but learn from failures, and also not presented as if there is no, that the common system always works, because then I think we're going to have some disappointment in the end. It sounds like we're going to be lifted in the air any minute. Yes. And then a final point, specifically to practitioners, I think, in the room. I think it's great to see so much enthusiasm, but I think we also have to realize that those people here in the room, and some others outside, are probably the ones who would step into a project right away, and who would say, we're going to go for it, we're going to try this out. We have the spirit, we have the attitude to try things out, to experiment with this, to search for improving it even more. But there's loads of people out there who don't. So the attitude is maybe something you cannot change right away, but it has to do, I think, with bringing out visibility, with enhancing visibility, as you mentioned. I think that's indeed extremely important. But I don't think we should be mistaken by our enthusiasm, in the sense that I think there's still a lot of work in bringing that enthusiasm to other parts of society. And I would also like to call for much more attention for inclusive ways of looking at variety of groups within the society. Many commons do a great job, I think, today. Many experiments do a great job in trying to address all parts of society, but it's still not, it's still a big challenge, I think. And with that, I would like to conclude my challenges and move, if Christian allows me, to a word of thanks. I think, that's definitely in place. I mentioned yesterday that these guys, they've set themselves an impossible task by organizing a conference in only 5 months. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I should advise you to do the same, but it can be done, and it can be done in an extremely good way, as you could tell the past few days. That could not, I think, have been done without the support of the city of Bologna and a number of foundations, and in particular I should mention, I think, the Foundation Golinelli here, but also other organizations like the Liga Coop, who have been present here and have been putting everything on tape for future generations. And I think this actually shows you that how important it is also for financing conferences and making them possible to have a good cooperative movement. And you can turn to them for other things as well. But there's plenty of, the first page of the program shows you how many organizations have been involved and contributed to this, and had the faith that this could be done in 5 months. And I think that's, that really deserves, I think, a big round of applause for those organizations to start with.
If I can add to the list of organizations that made this collaborative effort possible is the Fondazione del Monte di Bologna Ravenna, who is supporting the Bologna project, Fondazione Nipolis, Price Waterhouse Coopers, and also Alcenero, who is a cooperative that served as delicious meals based on organic food.
I'll be getting more personal as I proceed, but let me first also mention, 3 organizations, to whom people here have been linked. That's LabGov, the Fordham Urban Law Center, and the Lewis University. I think you need a good institutional framework to be able to do these things. So my very special thanks to those organizations, but even more thanks to, I think it's quite obvious who we have to thank here. Christian, Sheila, and the LabGov team, and I think I've been watching these people over the past 2 days and over the past 2 months, and I think by being here I've actually discovered Christian's secret. Maybe you've noticed as well, he's actually a very smart guy, because he knows who to surround himself with. And there's a real clear common denominator in there. Oh, he knows, okay, it's a deliberate choice. I think you've clearly seen that Christian has chosen only women in his team to organize it. There is one man, okay, that's... Okay, well, you must have very special features then, because clearly Christian knows that women are very good organizers, so there you go. But I think the first one he got on the train towards the Urban Commons and this conference was, of course, Sheila. I really enjoyed the team of you. It's really nice to see how people work well together and how they come with a joint story. And I remember very well, we had a Skype meeting, and the whole council was in Canada, and you guys were on the phone, on the Skype phone. And that was such a convincing meeting. It was like, after the meeting, everybody said, yeah, we have to do this. So, you can only have a call like that when, I think you were not even in the same office, but it was so convincing that a team like that could be doing this. And I have some gifts for you guys. Where's Renee? We have brought some gifts from the Netherlands. We can't beat Italy with the food, at least not the dinners and the lunches. But we can, I think, offer something with many different. It's about many different things. In the Netherlands, we have this tradition of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas brings things to people who have been good. I think you guys have been very good. So we brought you some sweets from the Netherlands and some material that might be useful when you join us in 2017 at the Utrecht conference and hopefully before that. First of all, Christian. Ask Elina and Marina, yes, on the floor. Are they around here? Yes. Well, I know there's many more people behind their group, but as a representation of their group. In the sharing tradition, I hope you will share among your group what we brought you. Thank you so much for all your efforts, and continue the good job. And we hope to see you as well in future events of the ISC and any other commons-related issue. Thank you very much.
This is it.
We open the floor just for a few minutes. Last words, because we are in a commons movement, so it's a shared discussion. Comments, questions, doubts, good wishes? Okay, dinner.
Thank you, Dina, and thank you, Renee.